Hi, welcome back to Conversations with
Chris
and Crystal. And today we are discussing types of narcissism. And we have discovered, because we've lived with them, one was my mom and
one was my ex.
And which keeps her from getting involved with anybody else.
Well, because they keep coming.
I know they do.
Coming.
Well, what I wanted to discuss is I, have done a lot of research on the subject, and I wanted to discuss
some types,
some types that maybe we're familiar with, because I kept running into things, and I'm like, oh, that's them. Oh, wait, that's them.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll.
And this is by no means an exhaustive list of all the types of narcissists that are out there.
Not at all. If you want to know that, you'll have to talk to a professional. And I think one of the statistics that I found, men are more narcissistic than women, which we're half and half here. We're half, 50-50 here. It's my mom and her ex, so he is a narcissist. So the one thing I ran into was, I'm not sure, I think the overt narcissist is also a high-functioning narcissist, which I felt really sounded like. So, like I said, what I found was the high-functioning narcissist, and both of ours had the high-functioning, which is, just to quote, he or she tends to be responsible, will have a good job, own his own business, be good at managing his money, will have good credit, own his own home, often be highly intelligent and creative, and may have a history of a long-term marriage or relationships, will be involved with their children, will take excellent care of himself physically, which yours didn't, okay, and may also be prominent members of society or wannabes. We had both of ours were wannabes, terribly. Interestingly, their partners often come to believe that they are the problem in the relationship. Was that true?
Well, yeah, but I was very down on myself to begin with, and I think that's maybe why he was attracted to me too, because here's someone that I can manipulate, and he did. And I remember I was in counseling because he was like, you need counseling, blah blah blah, and he came with me one time, and the counselor had said something that made it sound like he was partially responsible for something.
Oh, heaven
and
forbid.
He twisted, he was good at this. I wish I could remember the exact conversation, but he twisted it around so much that he says, am I right? At the end of what he was saying. And she goes, yes.
Yeah, I read that they can fool counselors.
Well, he twisted it around so much. I think she forgot what she had said or something, or it made it so convoluted that he made it, when he twisted it, he made it sound like, oh, so what she's really saying is that it's still my fault,
Yeah.
And so when I split up with him, I went back to my counselor one time and I said, well, I got divorced, so I won't be seeing you anymore.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
Right. Yeah, forget this noise.
Lost 300 pounds in weight because I divorced him.
There you go. No, mine was, we would go to counselors, and my mom, I was young, and my mom always said there was something wrong with Crystal.
Oh,
Yeah, and my little brother was married to a narcissist, and she did the same thing. There's something wrong with him. If you fix him, our marriage will be fine. And that doesn't make any sense, because it takes two to do anything, regardless of if you're a narcissist or not. But apparently they really blame others. They do not take responsibility for anything.
It's never their fault.
So as you're listening to this and you have friends or Romans or countrymen or whoever they are out there, and you go, you know what? I think they're a narcissist. Now, everybody has a percentage of narcissism, because if we didn't, we would not be able to protect ourselves. That's what it's for. And I did delve into where it comes from. According to, we have a favorite, Dr. Ramani on the YouTube.
On YouTube.
We like listening to her, and also Dr. Phil has some really good input on that. But they are, it comes from something in childhood. And I noticed that my mom had rheumatic fever when she was 12, and it left her with a hole in her heart. And our nationality is Finland. Finnish. And one thing I realized is Finlanders don't like weakness, and that was considered a weakness. And she was very close to her dad, and I think her dad kind of separated from her. He was very stoic anyway, and then I think he kind of separated from her because she was weak. And when I finally met my biological father after 19 years, one of the first things that him and his wife mentioned, I had my glasses on, which I usually wear glasses, but I'm reflecting all of our light bulbs here today. I had my glasses on, and they said, "Oh, look, she has to wear glasses like poor Jamie, my little brother, that half-brother that lived with them." And I realized, my parents would go around blind before they would wear glasses. And it's like, okay, but no, really, those nationalities, the Russian, the Germans, all of them really had trouble with glasses because you were considered weak. And so I realized that now with my mother. She had this hole in her heart that made her tired. Doctors told her she would never be like other children, and they just kind of separated from her. My grandmother catered to her because of her condition. So she became this other persona. There is a paragraph online, a whole paragraph. Here's narcissistic syndrome for you from the Mayo Clinic. And the first thing it says is, if you're married to a narcissist, we hold very little hope for you, financially. Yeah. And if you insist on staying married to this person, then you need to have an account of your own with your own money in it that they don't know about.
Oh yeah.
That was a really big deal. Was their need for money and control, and my mother emptied my bank account twice, both times for me, but she needed to spend money because it made her feel good. And so look what I bought you.
For you, yeah.
And I took your money. Yeah. When you were out of town. That's what happened. So it's a challenge. Yeah, you had money issues.
Well, with my ex, he always said that he was an oops baby because he was the youngest, and so he always, I guess, felt like he wasn't really wanted because he was an accident, is what he always said.
Oh, yeah.
And because, late in life, the parents had him. Yeah. And then he had Crohn's disease, and so, and then every little thing. It's like he was a hypochondriac. We had a linen closet full of medications. Yes. So the first time I tried to kill myself, I was looking at his medications, thinking, I wonder if any of these would do the trick. It's another story for another time. But yes. Mm-hmm. I ultimately decided not to try with those. But anyway. So he with the money, he paid the mortgage on the house, and if we went out to eat, which we did most of the time, he paid for that, and I paid all the other bills, and he made 3 times as much money as I did. Okay. And then he would complain that I never cooked, and it's like, but you want to go out all the time, And finally, I knew I was getting close to developing my own backbone the time that he had hurt his foot. And I was ironing his shirts. I never iron for myself because I don't believe in ironing. I will not iron. Yeah. But I'm ironing his shirts, and he's like, "Oh, you didn't do it the way I like it done." I said, "Well, here, you can do it then." Yeah. But it hurts my foot to stand. I said, "Well, get one of the bar stools and sit on it." Yeah. And he glared at me. He did it, but he glared at me. So, that's when I knew I was starting, and probably he knew, too, that I wasn't going to be his little whipping boy anymore.
I think that happened with Mom and I, too. That's what my brothers couldn't understand. They're 12 years younger than me, so they have a whole different life with her compared to what I, came in on. And I wanted to, I have a picture. We're going to talk about what happened to that little girl at some point, and I have a picture, and I've got to find it. You could just see it in my eyes. I'm like all of 3 years old looking at that camera like, are you people for real? Seriously? I have to put up with this? Are you kidding me? It's just so serious. They can't accept blame. Let's see.
Gaslighting.
And gaslighting. That was a big one for you, wasn't it? It's always gaslighting, meaning that it's always your fault. Can't you see how this is your problem?
You in the actual movie Gaslight, which is where the term comes from, the guy kept telling his wife, "Oh, you misplaced this, and I found it over here."
Yes.
And then she'd start to doubt herself.
Yeah.
So he was always making me doubt myself.
Yes. Mom always told me I watched too many movies and I had too vivid an imagination to be a sensitive person. I was just too sensitive. And I remember once watching TV with her later in my life, and there were these puppies on there, and I was, oh, and she just turned very slowly and looked at me and she said, "What family did you come from?" And that was here in this house in Arizona, that she did that. All of a sudden I don't belong anywhere.
Because you like puppies?
I have no idea. She had dogs. I mean, good grief. High functioning also engages in crazy making, projecting, gaslighting, etc. And yeah, they make you feel like you're crazy. And their partners cannot express their anger without being subject to accusations. Oh, yeah. I kind of saw that in my stepdad with her. And he and I have had a conversation in the last 5 years or so about her and saying, was it real? Did it really happen? And I say, yeah, it really happened. Where were you?
It's funny about the projecting because my ex-best friend, not the one that married him, but a more recent one, she would project on me all the time.
Yes.
It was always, I don't even want to go.
Yeah, I know. It could get really excessive. So we were trying to get to the types of narcissism. And, let's see. Grandiose. So the grandiose narcissist, all of them have a level of grandiosity in them. And they're egotistical, arrogant, look at me, attention-seeking, and they do not listen to others. I proved that with my mom. I was a junior in high school, and I would come home, and I would walk home, and of course, I would get home, and she would say, "Oh, how are you? How was your day? What did you do today?" And like any kid, I couldn't remember a blessed thing that I did in high school. And so the next day I thought, she's actually trying to communicate with me. And I need to think of something. Yeah, I know. This is great.
Fool.
Yeah, I know. But I tried. I racked my brains on the way home. What can I tell her? And of course the same thing happened. And I told her something. And in the middle of my sentence, she said, "I'm tired. I'm going to go lay down." And she walked away. So this happened a couple of days in a row, and then finally I came up with this brilliant idea to come home, and she said, "How was your day, etc., etc." And I proceeded to tell her how I was going to kill myself. And in the middle of my sentence, she said, "I'm going to go lay down. I'm tired. I'm going to go lay down." So I knew she was never listening. She did not hear anything. Unless she heard it and she didn't care, which would be more scary. There's a malignant narcissist. While they are also grandiose, they are mean. And she did have a mean streak to her. She could be very mean and biting and hurting. And you'd be like, well, where did that come from? No empathy. They can be really bad, lie, cheat, steal, and may feel a little bad. But for the most part, they don't care. Got anything like that in him? Could he be mean? Or rude outright?
Trying to block out so much of it, but yeah, he wouldn't be outright, to your face mean. He would do these little manipulative things that just to embarrass me,
Well, I think that brings us to the covert or stealth narcissist.
That would be him.
They're secretive. They are grandiose as well.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. Passive aggressive. There it is. Life has done them wrong. It owes them. Him. Oh, don't you just love that one? Yes. They tend to can be depressed. Sensitive to criticism. Oh yes. The world never gets their greatness, and they don't take responsibility, and they blame.
Oh, that was him too.
Okay, so he's a covert narcissist. Yeah. And then we have the communal narcissist, always out there to save the world. This I know somebody like this. Well made up. They need recognition. Look at my greatness. Look at how wonderful I am to these poor children who have no food or no money. I've given them all this money. I'm all well made up at the time I'm telling you this, standing amongst the orphans, and they need validation and for their good works, which biblically speaking is not the issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's not supposed to be about you.
You're supposed to pray in your closet.
Yeah, yeah, and you give,
not to the world.
You know, without telling people what you're doing. And so that was that one. I think I ran into benign, generational, and a mix. And then narcissistic personality disorder is a little different. It's actually quite complex. And I ran into that with my girlfriend's sister for the first time, because I think she's always been a narcissist to a degree. And she finally lashed out physically at her sister a few months back. Wow. And I said, that's different. That's narcissistic personality disorder is physical. Narcissists don't tend to be physical.
No.
Because it's all about them. They, you know, why would I hit you? That's a waste of time.
I used to say I wish my ex had hit me because I would have known what to do then. But this mental stuff.
Yeah, the mental stuff is really, really tough. And so I wanted to just bring those up. We will move on to recognizing a narcissist, you know, in your midst, what to say to a narcissist, how to protect yourself, run if you can. Yeah, I couldn't. And so those are some things that we will address in the future. And so we just wanted to kind of get some of these things out. And if you know somebody like this, you know, start paying attention and realizing they're not going to change. Oh my gosh, you don't know how many years I spent praying that she would change. And I went to all these different counselors who would look at me and say, oh, well, first of all, your mom's a narcissist. Second of all, she's never going to change. So deal with it. And buy yourself a flower. That's what they told me. I realize now what it meant. Now, you know, heaven forbid that a psychologist or psychiatrist would tell you. Yeah, would tell you to have self-love. That's another one we're going to talk about, because that's been a long time in the making for me to have self-love. Don't you think people ought to just say what they mean sometimes? That's it. Buy yourself a flower. I know. I mean, you know, and I remember one counselor saying, well, you know, we can talk about the elephant in the room. And I understand that concept now, but back then I didn't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking of a literal elephant in the room going, okay, what are we not talking about? And you were how old then? I was in my 20s. Oh, okay. I was in my 20s then. Yeah. My mom took me to all kinds of gurus and, you know, voodoo and everything else. To try and fix you for her problem. Yes. And I remember her sitting there and saying, yeah, well, Crystal, there's something wrong with Crystal. And it was like, okay, so all my life there was something wrong with me. Part of it, I think, is because she did mention when I was about 16, she said, you remind me of your father and I don't like it. Well, thank you very much for that. He wasn't in my life. I have no clue what that meant at the time. And, but I think that was it. I think, you know, obviously I'm part of two people, and she didn't like him. She had burned all of his pictures. She's very bitter. Burned all of his pictures, and, you know, he never existed. Of course, he was always in the back of my mind, but I was 6 when they divorced, and that was the last I saw of him until I was 24. I never thought about changing him. I thought about changing me, because that was, you know, I thought I was the problem, which is exactly what I wanted. Yes, they want you to do that. Yeah, they're never going to change, and it's hard when it's your mom. And I know there's a lot of people out there who have you can't leave that relationship. I mean, if you're involved with someone in a love relationship, you know, you can leave, but not when it's family. Right, you're stuck. Yeah, you're stuck with them and their opinions. She did have. I finally read the book Boundaries, and years ago, I was like 39, I think, when I stood up for myself one day with her very nicely. God was really with me. It just came out so perfectly, and I said, I am just not going to speculate. This is my house, and we are not going to speculate. We're just going to move forward with what we're doing. And she jumped up, and she said, do I have to do everything for this family? Do I have to worry for this family? Because worry is a sin. And I just sat there, and she got up and walked out, and I didn't hear from her for 2 years. Best 2 years of my life. I just wish I had known then what I know now, you know, and I would have done some repair work on myself before she came back into my life. And she came back with that birthday card that said, I remember when you were a little girl. And I thought, oh no,
pulling
here
at
we
your
go.
heartstrings.
Well, that's when she could control me. And she couldn't later. And so it was really difficult. And one of my brothers said he wished that we could have gotten along better. I knew everything about her. I anticipated everything she needed. So I knew before she knew sometimes. And that was sad. And then when I started working with, and that's going to be another film too. I attract narcissists, so I end up working for them, and I end up getting hurt every time.
At least though that you're married, so you don't attract them that way, because that's all I ever attracted was narcissists.
Yeah.
This one guy that I dated, I swear he didn't work.
Okay.
And he was a bum, and I always said I was never going to support a man, financially.
Yeah.
All the things that I've said I never would do, I've done every one of them. So never say you'll never do something.
Another film.
Yes.
There we go.
Never say never.
Never say
but
never.
With this guy, so I was working, I did work the night shift doing word processing, and he drove to surprise me, drove up to my job to surprise me. And I came out of the elevator, and I went and I threw something away in the garbage on my way to my car, and then I get this phone call, and he's all, "Where are you?" I said, "Walking to my car." "Why? Where are you?" He says, "I'm here." "And who's that guy?" And I was like, "What guy?" Apparently some guy came off the elevator next to my elevator, and he said, "And your hair's wet," and he, or his hair was wet or something. He's like, he ended up accusing me of sleeping with this guy when I was supposed to be working, and I was like, "You are totally nuts."
Yeah. Yeah. Just what you need in your life. One more of those.
So finally got rid of him, but
yeah. So these are all in a process of, our little motto of take care of yourself because nobody else will.